Good day, this is Samesh Deswat from Happy Chimney Sweeps, and today we're going to do an in-depth dive into a hearth, what the hearths are and why you need a hearth, and the sizing and everything you need to know about a hearth is hopefully going to be contained in this video and should answer some of the questions you have when installing a hearth or having a hearth sort of installed, or planning your fireplace and your stove install. So I've come to directstoves.com and they have a fantastic guide on wood burning stoves, hearths, etc. So we're just going to run through this, and I'll hopefully this article will answer all your questions. Again, if you have any additional questions, you're always welcome to email us. Our email address is office@happychimneysweep.co.uk. Okay, so let's go from the top. So when you buy a wood burning stove or multi-fuel stove, not only do you need to protect it, but you also need to look after the space around it, particularly your flooring, which is why you'll need a stove hearth. Okay, so what they're basically saying in this part is that your hearth is important for your safety, but it's also important to match the decor of your room or your stove. So those are the two considerations: one, that it's safe and is within regulations, and two, that it matches your decor. Okay, so what is a hearth or a burner? And let's just get this out here. So basically, a hearth is a non-combustible floor for a fireplace or a stove to sit on. So basically anything that's non-combustible. In document J, this is a technical sort of definition. A hearth is a base intended to safely isolate a combustible appliance from people, combustible parts of the building fabric and soft furnishings. The exposed surface of the hearth provides a region around the appliance that is kept clear of anything at risk of fire. Okay, so basically what they're saying is it's a surface area that is non-combustible. It also designates the area that is sort of dangerous. So when people approach a stove, they know that this area they're actually approaching something that they need to have some awareness around. In terms of the hearth itself, this is from document J, and so you've got your combustion zone, which is the actual zone of the stove, and then you've got the surface of the hearth segregates the floor and the room contents from heat and falling embers. So basically it tells people where the falling embers could be. Yeah, so let's go further down. So is a hearth necessary for a log burner or stove? Absolutely yes, it is. And it's also part of building requirements, so it's absolutely necessary for that as well. So building requirements state that a non-combustible material must cover a set area around your stove. Okay. A hearth is essential in ensuring your home is safe as possible when using a stove. When your stove reaches a high temperature, embers or hot ashes fall out from it. Okay, so this is important. So basically, sometimes that's happened is you open the stove door and a log falls out, and obviously you don't want that log to be falling on anything that's combustible. It also, I guess, the other reason for having the hearth is a designated area, so it also warns people not to place like combustible stuff on there. Like, don't put your magazines or store any wood or anything like that. You don't want to store anything on the hearth that could combust, or at least be aware that the hearth should be a safe area. It also helps passers-by by keeping a safe distance from the scalding hot stove exterior, and prevents people accidentally placing combustibles too close to the stove. So for this reason, regulations also state your hearth should be visually apparent, with the edge ideally raised above the level of the floor. So the hearth should really not be floor level, but should be raised higher than the level of the floor. What is the best material for a wood stove hearth? Well, they've given various options. One option here they've given is granite, and this is my favorite. Granite is much harder material. It's very difficult to scratch, and it looks great. You can get in different colors, different materials, or different sort of textures. You can have it like a shiny texture, or you could also have it as a more of a like a matte finish. And then we have slate hearths. Slate hearths are not really my favorite. Mainly they are cheap, but mainly they scratch quite easily. And then if you want a more modern look, you've got these options, which is the glass hearth. You can see this one's in a teardrop shape. This fits in a corner for a round sort of stove. Steel hearths, I've not really seen those much, but really anything that's non-combustible can be. You can use tiles, you can use bricks, anything that's non-combustible and designates that this particular area is the hearth. Okay, so let's take a look at the hearth regulations for freestanding stove. Let's take a look at some of these. So first of all, you must always check the size of your stove before buying a hearth. If the heat from the freestanding stove doesn't raise the temperature of the hearth above 100 degrees, then the following measurements must be met. So actually in the designation or the details of the stove manufacturer should communicate whether the temperature below the hearth at the bottom reaches above 100 or not. So if it doesn't reach above 100, okay, so that's underneath the stove where the hearth sits, the hearth must extend at least 300 millimeters to the front and 150 millimeters to either side. So what they're saying is if that's your stove, then in front of the stove this should be 300 millimeters, and to either side of the stove that's 150 millimeters. Okay, so it must be made from a non-combustible material. So non-combustible means it can't burn, and it must cover a minimum area of 840 millimeters. So it's 84 centimeters by 84 centimeters. Okay, so if your stove heats the hearth over 100 degrees Celsius, or it hasn't been tested, the required thickness of your hearth must be 250 mil. So if it goes below 100 degrees, then you can have a hearth that is minimum of 12 millimeters. Okay, so it's quite a thin sort of material. So this is the requirements for stoves in a fireplace recess. Okay, so this is where you have an old fireplace and you're installing a stove in that recess. Let's take a look at some of these requirements. So if you're placing your stove into the fireplace, it needs to have something called a constructional hearth in place. So the constructional hearth is it's like a hearth that sort of fits into the floor at the level of the floorboards. That's what a constructional hearth is. It's below the next hearth, the hearth that sits on top of the decorative hearth. This is a floor of your fireplace nook that is usually made of a thick layer of concrete and should be at least 250 millimeters thick. I've never seen one less. So this should be then project at least 500 millimeters outwards into the room and be wider than the recess by a minimum of 150 mils. Again, they're saying if that's your fireplace opening, okay, it should come forward by at least 500 millimeters, that's 50 centimeters, and to the side past the wall about 150 millimeters. Okay, so this is the official document from document J, which is the regulations. Let's just take a look at this quickly. So if this is your fireplace here, okay, then this edge over here should be 150 mils, okay, and then this edge over here should be, here we've got it here, 300 mils, okay. So at least 225 for a closed appliance or 300 mils for an open appliance, which means that if the appliance is closed and it's not designed to be burnt open, then you can have it as 250 mils, or if it's designed to, say you have a stove with an open door. Excuse me. Okay, so that's the hearth. That's the hearth within a fireplace recess. This is a freestanding hearth. Okay, so let's just take a look at the freestanding hearth quickly. So we've got the appliance, which is obviously the stove itself. Here's the opening to the hearth, and let's look at some of the dimensions. So this dimension over here, so between this edge and this edge over here, that should be at least 150 mils. This edge over here should also be 150 mils, so that's that edge over there. This perimeter over here should be at least 225 or 300. Okay, and the hearth surface is free of combustible material. Okay, so that's basically that's it for that, and that's it for hearths. Looks like that's the end of that. Let's see if we can take a look at some various examples of hearths. Okay, for here I've just gone to basically to Pinterest, and I'm just going to look at give you some examples of what hearths sort of come out like. Here's a hearth made out of slightly raised. That's at least 30 centimeters in front and 15 centimeters to the sides, between the sides and there, and that looks like it's made out of tiles, that one. Let's take a look at another one here. This is a hearth, looks like it's being built into a twin wall, and that looks like either a granite or a slate hearth in black. Let's take a look at this one here. Okay, so this one also looks like some type of granite hearth. You can see it's shiny and quite hard. Again, 30 centimeters in front and at least 15 centimeters either side. And that's the combustible material, that's the non-combustible material there. Let's see some of the examples. This is a nice one here. Again, this hearth is raised, 15 centimeters either side, 30 centimeters in front, and a bit of space around the stove as well. Not so sure about this one. That really doesn't look like 15 centimeters. See that? Now the problem with that hearth over there is, although this could be, it doesn't look like a real fire. It could be a electric or gas fire. But if this was a wood burning fire, this wouldn't be sufficient. That's definitely not 30 centimeters. So what happens there is somebody opens the door, a log falls out, and it's gonna fall onto that carpet. So definitely not suitable. But yeah, these are just good to do a search for on Etsy for wood burning stoves, and just look at the various options of hearths that are available and what you can do with hearths. It's good to look around and just see different styles, different colors, different materials, and some options. Also, how the sort of fireplaces look and stuff. Okay, I hope that's been helpful, and I hope that answers your questions. Again, if you have any more questions, you can contact us at office@happychimneysweep.co.uk. Have a good day. Bye bye.